First impressions. Supreme Commander Vazik of the Kelari Dominion stood motionless on the observation deck of the Celestial Authority, his 6 eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching human vessel. The massive dreadnought, nearly 20 kilometers from bow to stern, dwarfed the tiny Earth ship now requesting diplomatic audience. His chitinous exoskeleton clicked softly as he shifted his weight. Primitive propulsion systems, reported Science Director Nelvera, her translucent appendages manipulating the sensor readouts. Chemical thrusters with rudimentary fusion assists. Their hull composition is primarily titanium alloys, with some composite materials we haven't precisely identified. No apparent shielding technology. Vazik's mandibles twitched in mild amusement, and yet they've managed interstellar travel. Barely, Nelvera replied. Their technology suggests they've achieved FTL capabilities within the last century at most. They're Category 3 at best, spacefaring but underdeveloped. The Kelari Dominion had ruled this sector of the galaxy for over 2,000 years, assimilating or subjugating dozens of species. First contact protocols were well established. Assess technological capacity, determine military threat level, and proceed accordingly. Low-tech species like humans were typically guided into vassal status, protected, exploited, and controlled. "They're hailing us again, Supreme Commander," announced Communications Officer Telvik. "Open the channel," Vazik ordered, smoothing his ceremonial robe. The view screen activated, revealing a human female with copper-colored skin and short black hair. She wore a simple blue uniform with minimal insignia. "Greetings, representatives of the Kelari Dominion. I am Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Diplomatic Vessel Handshake. On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to our solar system." Vazik performed the traditional Kelari greeting gesture. "Greetings, Captain Reyes. I am Supreme Commander Vazik of the Kelari Dominion. We come with peaceful intentions to establish diplomatic relations with your species." The conversation proceeded with standard pleasantries. Within hours, a delegation of humans had transferred to the Celestial Authority for formal introductions. The Kelari had prepared an impressive reception in their grand hall, a massive chamber with gravity-defying architecture and bioluminescent organisms providing ambient light. Captain Reyes arrived with 5 other humans, all wearing similar uniforms. They appeared suitably awed by the alien technology surrounding them. "Your vessel is truly magnificent, Supreme Commander," said Reyes, accepting a glass of Kelari nectar. "We've only achieved reliable interstellar travel in the past 70 years. Your civilization must be extraordinarily advanced." "Indeed," Vazik replied magnanimously. "The Kelari Dominion encompasses over 400 star systems and 28 sentient species. Our technological development began nearly 3 millennia ago." Science Director Nelvera approached, her sensor appendage discreetly scanning the humans. "If I may inquire, Captain Reyes, our preliminary research indicates your species has experienced multiple global conflicts in your recent history. How fascinating that you achieved unity despite such setbacks." Something flickered briefly in Reyes' eyes. "Yes, humanity has had its share of wars. We've learned from them." The diplomatic exchange continued for several hours. The Kelari explained their political structure, technological achievements, and cultural history while the humans listened attentively, asking occasional questions but sharing relatively little about themselves. As the reception concluded, Vazik addressed the human delegation. "We would be honored if you would join us tomorrow for a tour of our scientific facilities. We're particularly interested in establishing a research outpost in your system's asteroid belt." "We would welcome that, Supreme Commander," Reyes replied. "Perhaps afterward, you might visit our colony on Mars. It's nothing as grand as your worlds, but we're proud of what we've built there." After the humans departed, Vazik convened with his senior staff in the private council chamber. "Your assessment?" he asked Nelvera. The science director's appendages shifted in a pattern indicating analytical thought. "They are exactly as our intelligence suggested, technologically primitive but adaptable. Their physiology is unremarkable, though they appear to have unusual endurance for vital organisms. Their ship contains no weapon systems beyond point defense lasers, added Security Chief Morton. They pose no threat to Dominion interests. Vazik nodded in satisfaction. Excellent. I believe we can proceed with standard assimilation protocols. The humans will make suitable junior partners in the Dominion, providing resources and labor in exchange for our protection and technological guidance. Analysis, Vazik demanded. Nelvera worked frantically at her console. Unknown configuration, but energy readings suggest significant weapon systems. Their trajectory will intercept our position in approximately 90 minutes. Contact the humans, ordered Vazik. Inform them we're detecting potentially hostile vessels. The communication was established quickly, but instead of Captain Rice, they were greeted by a different human, an older male with silver hair and a more elaborate uniform. Supreme Commander Vazik, I'm Admiral James Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We're aware of the incoming vessels and have identified them as Scourge Raiders, a hostile species we've encountered before. I strongly recommend you move your ship behind Jupiter's orbit for protection. Vazik was momentarily confused. You're familiar with these entities. Your records made no mention of conflicts beyond your home system. There are many things we didn't share during our initial meeting. Supreme Commander. Standard protocol for first contact scenarios. The Admiral's expression was grim. The Scourge are salvagers who target technological civilizations. They're drawn to energy signatures like your dreadnought. Our vessel is equipped with defensive capabilities, Vazik replied, somewhat offended at the implication that his people needed protection from primitives. With respect, Supreme Commander, your defenses won't be sufficient. The Scourge use phase-shifted weaponry that can penetrate standard shields. Please move your ship to the coordinates we're transmitting. Before Vazik could respond, another alert sounded. The tactical display updated, showing new vessels emerging from Earth's direction. 3 massive ships unlike anything they'd seen from the humans before. What are those? Whispered Nelvera. Admiral Chen's expression remained steady. That, Supreme Commander, is the real Earth Defense Force. The EDS Dauntless, Defiant, and Dreadnought. Our battleships. The Kelari crew watched in stunned silence as the human warships accelerated toward the incoming threat. Unlike the diplomatic vessel they'd encountered earlier, these ships were clearly built for war. Their angular hulls were covered in weapon emplacements, and their engines left trails of blue-white energy as they moved with unexpected speed. I don't understand, Vazik said slowly. Your civilization is pre-Dominion classification. You shouldn't have this level of military technology. As I said, Supreme Commander, there are many things we didn't share. The Admiral's tone was not unkind but firm. Now please move your ship to safety. We'll handle the Scourge. As the Celestial Authority retreated toward Jupiter, the Kelari watched their sensors in disbelief. The human battleships deployed formations and weapon systems that suggested centuries of military development, not the primitive civilization they had cataloged. How is this possible? Vazik murmured, watching as the lead human ship, the Dauntless, began to power up weapon systems that rivaled anything in the Dominion arsenal. I believe, Nelvera said slowly, we may have severely misjudged the humans. The Scourge ships entered weapons range, and what followed would forever change how the Kelari Dominion viewed humanity. The human battleships moved with precision that spoke of extensive combat experience, coordinating their attacks with devastating effectiveness. The Dauntless unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that cut through the lead Scourge vessel like it was made of paper. Those are graviton lance arrays, Morton said in disbelief. Dominion scientists have only theorized such weapons. How did the humans develop them? As the battle unfolded, the truth became increasingly clear to the watching Kelari. The humans had deliberately presented themselves as technologically inferior during first contact, a strategy no Dominion species would have considered. They had hidden their true military capabilities behind a facade of primitive diplomacy. And now, As the human battleships systematically destroyed the Scourge fleet with technology the Kelari had believed was centuries beyond Earth's reach, Supreme Commander Vazek realized their catastrophic error. They had judged humanity by their apparent technology, not by their potential. The galaxy, it seemed, had just become a much more complicated place. Calculated deception. 3 days after the Scourge engagement, Supreme Commander Vazek sat across from Admiral Chen in a conference room aboard the Earth Orbital Station Unity. The station's design, now that Vazek was permitted to see it, belied the primitive technology displayed during first contact. Its elegant architecture housed gravity manipulation systems, quantum communication arrays, and energy matrices that rivaled Kelari engineering. "You understand our position is awkward, Admiral," Vazek said, his mandibles twitching with discomfort. "The Kelari Dominion prides itself on diplomatic and technological superiority. Your deception has created complications." Admiral Chen nodded, his expression neutral. "We understand completely, Supreme Commander. However, humanity has learned through bitter experience that revealing our full capabilities during first contact often leads to unfortunate outcomes." Captain Rice sat beside the Admiral, her diplomatic demeanor unchanged despite the radically altered power dynamic between their species. She slid a data crystal across the table. "This contains the true history of human expansion into space," she explained. "The unabridged version." The holographic display activated, showing scenes that stunned the Kelari delegation. Humans fighting against various alien aggressors. Colony worlds burning. Fleet engagements of staggering scale. Earth itself under siege, its surface scarred by orbital bombardment. 57 years ago, Chen explained, we made contact with the Tauran Collective. Like yourselves, they appeared peaceful initially. We revealed everything about our civilization, our technology, our military capabilities, our resource stockpiles. 3 months later, they launched a surprise attack that nearly annihilated our species. Vazek watched the historical footage with growing unease. The Kelari hadn't encountered the Taurans, but the tactics displayed, the overwhelming initial strike, the methodical destruction of population centers, mirrored standard Dominion conquest protocols with uncomfortable precision. We lost 2 billion people before we finally drove them back. Rice continued softly. Since then, we've adopted what we call the Masquerade Protocol. We present a carefully constructed facade of technological limitation during first contact while maintaining our actual defense capabilities in reserve. Security Chief Morden leaned forward. The diplomatic vessel, the handshake, it was designed to appear primitive. Everything about it was calculated, Chen confirmed. The visible propulsion systems, the hull materials, the energy signatures, all engineered to present the image of a species just beginning to explore beyond their home system. Science Director Nelvera's appendages twitched with scientific curiosity. Yet your actual technology, those battleships, they employ principles we've only theorized. The graviton weaponry alone. Necessity drove innovation, Chen replied. After the Tauran War, humanity united like never before. We devoted unprecedented resources to defense technology. When you're fighting for survival, scientific advancement accelerates dramatically. Vazek processed this information slowly. The implications were profound, not just for immediate Kelari-human relations, but for the Dominion's entire expansion strategy. Their protocols assumed technological assessment was straightforward, that species couldn't hide their advancement level. I must ask directly, Admiral, Vazek said finally, what is the true extent of human military capability? Admiral Chen maintained eye contact. The 3 battleships you witnessed represent approximately 8% of our current fleet strength. We maintain 17 major shipyards throughout our colonial sphere, producing an average of 1 capital ship every 60 days. Our total colonial population exceeds 12 billion across 27 star systems. The silence that followed was deafening. The Kelari had catalogued humans as having perhaps 3 minor colony worlds. "And the Scourge?" asked Morton. "You've encountered them before." 7 times, Rice confirmed. "They first attacked our Proxima Centauri colony 12 years ago. They're opportunistic raiders, targeting what they perceive as vulnerable settlements. Which explains why they attacked when a Kelari dreadnought entered the system," Nelvera realized. "They thought they were facing a single powerful ship and a primitive species." "Precisely," Chen nodded. "They didn't realize they were walking into a heavily defended system. We typically allow one of our diplomatic vessels to make first contact, keeping our military assets out of scanner range. The handshake is specifically designed to attract opportunistic aggressors, a practice that has identified several hostile species before they could mount full-scale invasions." Vezic's inner eyelids flickered, a sign of deep thought among his species. The humans were using their apparent vulnerability as a weapon, turning their deception into a strategic advantage that had clearly worked multiple times. "This meeting represents a significant departure from your standard protocols," then he observed. Rice smiled slightly. "Yes, the fact that we're revealing our true capabilities suggests we've made a preliminary assessment that the Kelari Dominion might be suitable for actual alliance rather than continued deception." "Might be." Vezic's tone carried a hint of indignation. Admiral Chen leaned forward. "Supreme Commander, your initial scans classified humans as Category 3, spacefaring but underdeveloped. Your diplomatic approach, while courteous, contained subtle markers of technological superiority. Your delegation asked questions designed to assess our resource production and military capacity. Your science director conducted unauthorized biometric scans during the reception." Vezic's mandibles clicked in embarrassment. They had indeed followed standard Dominion protocols for assessing potential vassal species. "Moreover," Chen continued, "we have intercepted communications between your vessel and your central government." The phrase "standard assimilation protocols" was mentioned. "I believe you understand our caution." The Supreme Commander felt his exoskeleton tighten. The humans had not only monitored their supposedly secure quantum communications, but had decoded them. A technological feat the Dominion had believed impossible for non-Kelari systems. "We find ourselves at an unusual diplomatic juncture," Vazic acknowledged. "The Kelari Dominion has not encountered a species that concealed its advancement so effectively. It raises concerns." "Naturally," Rice nodded. "Just as your assimilation protocols raise concerns for us. However, we believe this moment of mutual uncomfortable honesty creates an opportunity for genuine alliance rather than the hierarchy your Dominion typically establishes." She activated another holographic display, showing a galactic map with territories marked in different colors. "We've identified multiple aggressive expansionist empires in nearby sectors," she explained. "The Scourge are merely opportunistic raiders, but the Tauran Collective continues to extend its borders. The Vex Imperium has consumed 3 civilizations in the past decade. Even your Kelari Dominion has faced territorial challenges from the Morrigan Crusade." Vazic's posture stiffened. The Morrigan had indeed been pressing against Dominion borders for nearly a century, a fact that shouldn't have been in human intelligence. "What are you proposing?" he asked cautiously. Admiral Chen gestured to the map. "A defensive coalition, not subjugation or assimilation, but true partnership. The Kelari have experience and established territory. Humans have technological innovations and military strategy. Together, we present a more formidable front against common threats." The concept was alien to Kelari diplomatic tradition. The Dominion didn't form partnerships. It expanded and absorbed. Yet Vazic couldn't deny the strategic logic, especially now that he understood humanity's true capabilities. "Such an arrangement would require significant changes to Dominion policy," he said carefully. "And significant changes to our disclosure protocols," Rice countered. "Mutual compromise for mutual benefit." Vazic contemplated the holographic map, watching as it highlighted potential conflict zones between major powers. The galaxy was becoming increasingly dangerous, with multiple expansionist civilizations competing for limited resources. A human alliance, however unconventional, offered strategic advantages the Dominion Council couldn't easily dismiss. "I will present your proposal to the Dominion Council," he finally said. "But I must warn you, they will not easily abandon 3,000 years of successful expansion strategy." Admiral Chen smiled thinly. "And we will not easily abandon the defensive protocols that have kept our species alive, Supreme Commander. But perhaps both of our civilizations can evolve." As the meeting concluded, Vezek found himself reassessing everything he thought he knew about interspecies relations. The humans had fundamentally changed the equation with their calculated deception, a strategy so foreign to Kelari thinking that they had never considered it possible. More unsettling was the realization that the Kelari might not be alone in their miscalculation. How many other galactic powers had encountered humanity's diplomatic vessels and dismissed them as primitive? How many were making plans based on fatally flawed intelligence? The humans had turned vulnerability into a weapon, deception into defense, and now they were offering to transform a potential conquest into an alliance. The galaxy, Vezek realized, had been playing one game while humanity played another entirely. Shifting balance. 6 months after the Scourge incident, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Concord hummed with tension. Representatives from 17 major spacefaring civilizations had gathered on the neutral station for the unprecedented announcement: the formal alliance between the Kelari Dominion and the United Earth Government. Supreme Commander Vezek, now elevated to diplomatic overlord, stood beside Admiral Chen and Captain Reyes on the central platform. The assembled delegates murmured among themselves, many still processing the shocking revelation of humanity's true technological status. "The Kelari in alliance with humans," hissed Ambassador Threx of the Vex Imperium. "Unthinkable. The Dominion does not form alliances, it conquers." "And yet," replied the Tauran representative coldly, "here we are. Perhaps the rumors of human military capabilities are not exaggerated after all." The Tauran collective had maintained uncomfortable silence since humanity's technological reveal. Their failed invasion attempt 57 years earlier had been carefully concealed from other galactic powers, presented as a minor border skirmish rather than the devastating conflict it had truly been. Now, with humans displaying advanced weaponry and revealing their true colonial extent, awkward questions were arising about the collective's past claims. Vezek activated the central holographic display, showing the newly established borders of the Kelari Human Defense Pact. For 3 millennia, the Kelari Dominion has expanded through the stars, bringing order and civilization to countless worlds, he began, reciting the traditional opening of Dominion announcements. Then, deviating from protocol, he continued, "Today, we embark on a new approach to galactic security. Not through conquest, but through partnership." The assembly erupted in disbelieving chatter. Ambassador Marvox of the Morrigan Crusade rose from his seat, his cybernetic implants glowing with anger. "The Dominion abandons its manifest destiny among the stars to ally with humans, a species that deliberately deceived the galactic community about its true nature. This is outrageous." Admiral Chen stepped forward. "The United Earth Government has never claimed to be what we are not, Ambassador. We simply allowed others to make their own assumptions that frequently led to aggression against our people." The Admiral activated a secondary display, showing the unmistakable silhouette of a Morrigan battle cruiser engaged with a human colony defense station. The timestamp indicated the incident had occurred just 3 years earlier, an encounter the Morrigan had never reported to the Concord. "Perhaps," Chen continued mildly, "if various powers had approached humanity with genuine diplomatic intentions rather than assessing us for conquest, such misunderstandings could have been avoided." The Morrigan ambassador sank back into his seat, silenced by the evidence of his civilization's unreported aggression. Captain Rice addressed the assembly next. "Humanity's masquerade protocol was born of necessity, not malice. When your civilizations encountered new spacefaring species, what was your first instinct? To categorize them by technological capability, to assess them as potential vassals or threats, to calculate their resource value. Her gaze swept the chamber, meeting the uncomfortable expressions of many delegates. We presented a deliberate facade because history taught us the danger of transparency. The Tauran invasion nearly destroyed our homeworld. The Scourge raids targeted our vulnerable colonies. The Morrigan tested our defenses without provocation. And yet today, we extend an open hand rather than a closed fist. Science Director Nelvera stepped forward, her appendages displaying patterns of scientific conviction. The human approach to technological development has proven remarkably efficient, she explained, displaying comparative advancement curves. Their threat-adaptive innovation model has produced solutions to problems the Dominion has researched for centuries. Already, our cooperative research initiatives have yielded significant improvements to shield harmonics, quantum communications, and graviton manipulation. The implications weren't lost on the assembled delegates. If the Kelleri, among the most technologically advanced civilizations in known space, found human innovations valuable, what did that suggest about humanity's actual advancement level? Vazek observed the shifting mood in the chamber with satisfaction. The initial shock and outrage were giving way to calculation and reassessment. Exactly as planned. This public announcement served multiple purposes beyond the formal declaration of alliance. It established the new Kelleri Human Defense Pact as a major power while forcing other civilizations to reevaluate their intelligence on both species. Ambassador Zilex of the Arcadian Consortium, a neutral power known for its commercial rather than military focus, raised a delicate tentacle. This alliance fundamentally alters the balance of power in three sectors, he noted. The combined military capacity of Kelleri and human forces would rank among the largest defensive fleets in known space. What assurances do neighboring civilizations have that this partnership remains defensive in nature? It was the question Vazek had anticipated, the core concern behind the Assembly's unease. Admiral Chen answered with practiced diplomacy. The Defense Pact Charter explicitly limits joint military operations to defensive actions, border security, and anti-piracy operations. We've already submitted the full text to the Concord Archive for public review. Additionally, we're establishing joint monitoring stations along our borders that will transmit standardized activity reports to neutral Concord observers. The transparency of the offer surprised many. Most military alliances in galactic history had operated behind carefully guarded secrecy. Furthermore, added Reyes, we extend invitations to all peaceful civilizations for technological and cultural exchange programs. Humanity's deception was never about establishing supremacy, only ensuring our survival. With that assured, we prefer cooperation to conflict. The assembly session continued for hours as delegates questioned the alliance representatives about everything from resource-sharing agreements to military command structures. Gradually, the initial hostility gave way to pragmatic engagement as various powers began calculating how to position themselves relative to the new alliance. After the formal proceedings concluded, Vazek found himself in a private observation lounge with Admiral Chen and Captain Reyes, watching the massive Earth battleship Resolute perform escort duties alongside the Kelleri cruiser Dominant Will. A successful introduction, I believe, Vazek observed, his mandibles clicking in the Kelleri expression of satisfaction. Many powers will seek favorable trading terms rather than risk confrontation. And those that don't? Chen asked, watching the elegant dance of the mismatched vessels through the viewport. The Morrigan and Vex will test our resolve. Certainly, Vazek acknowledged. They've built their civilizations on expansion. They cannot easily accept new limitations. Ray studied the tactical display showing nearby system traffic. We've identified increased Tauran fleet movements along their outer colonies. They're repositioning defensive assets. They fear retaliation for their past aggression, Chen noted. A fear we can leverage diplomatically. Vazek turned from the viewport. Your species continues to surprise me, Admiral. 6 months ago, I believed humans would become another vassal state in the Dominion. Today, we reshape galactic politics together. Necessity breeds adaptation, Chen replied. After the Tauran War, humanity realized our survival depended on changing the rules of engagement. We couldn't match the established powers in conventional terms, so we created new advantages. Strategic deception, Vesic mused. A concept the Dominion Council still struggles to fully comprehend. Our civilization evolved through overwhelming force, not subtlety. And humanity evolved through desperate innovation. Rise added. Different paths leading to complementary strengths. A communication alert chimed, and Vesic activated his personal display. He read the incoming message with his inner eyelids rapidly blinking, the Kelari equivalent of raised eyebrows. The Arcadian Consortium is requesting expedited trade negotiations, he announced, and the hegemony of Xylos desires observer status in our joint research initiatives. It appears our alliance is already producing diplomatic dividends. And the Taurans? Chen asked. Vesic's mandibles clicked with grim amusement. They have formally requested assurances that the Defense Pact harbors no retributive intentions toward their territory. Their ambassador specifically cited historical misunderstandings that should not influence current relations. Misunderstandings, Rise repeated with hollow humor, an interesting term for attempted genocide. Chen studied the starfield beyond the viewport. We'll provide those assurances, for now. Earth remembers, but humanity has evolved beyond simple vengeance. The vessel dwarfed even the Kelari dreadnought, its sleek design embodying the perfect blend of elegance and lethality. The message was unmistakable to any watching powers. Humanity had not revealed everything. There will always be another layer to the masquerade, Chen remarked, watching Vesic's reaction to the massive ship. Another contingency, another surprise. It's how we survived. Vesic's compound eyes reflected the distant silhouette of the human battleship. He had come to understand that humanity's greatest weapon was not their graviton lances or quantum shields, but their relentless adaptability, their capacity to transform, to deceive, to become whatever was necessary for survival. The Kelari had conquered through strength. Humans had endured through guile. Together, they were rewriting the rules of galactic power. The Dominion believed itself the rightful ruler of the stars, Vesic said thoughtfully. Now we learn we are merely one player in a far more complex game. Not players, Rise corrected gently. Partners. As the Earth battleship moved into formation with the assembled Kelari human fleet, Admiral Chen smiled. The first rule of survival, Supreme Commander, never reveal your full hand until absolutely necessary. And have you revealed yours now, Admiral? Vesic asked. Chen's smile remained enigmatic as he watched the stars. Let's just say that anyone who believes they've seen the full extent of human capability should remember our first impression. The galaxy had underestimated humanity once. Vesic suspected they would not make that mistake again.